need to know that we walked out vernacular. We just discussed about ourselves. We haven't discussed about what the origin of homelessness coming after use of America. Homeless, and then we decide that to be able to first describe uh, vocabulary, we have to have a way of living, a way of walking it out or acting it out, a way of producing it, seeing how homogeneity we get out of our daily life. We get our food, and when we get our residency or our hobo or abode or a place to abide, and then we divide our acts into pay respect to the different chores that give us the live and the effective live that sustains us. We have a lot of inquiries in America about what homeless is and the state of homelessness, but we must do know that eminent domain of the government tells us that the government only exists because there was people who dominated the section of the continent, and the individual continents were a compact mass group of people to be able to establish a common field where they could view and discuss the way they would prefer to live, as opposed to having it different said by other individuals and having it being most often said the way in which they desire, that it would not derive from anything else. That's the derivation from the soil. That it derives from the paradigm or the biome or the environment. That's what derivation is. It comes from this environment. It's concentric to, but not always concentric to, but it is situated around. That's the derivation. So here, the divining rod is explained in the word derivation, because we go out with the divining rod to plumb research and find out what is well in life. Well, we can find out what well is by saying that there's a source of nefesh, or the breath. There's aspiration over there. There's a spiral, or you can say there's a water spout. Where the water spout is, then we get great gulps and drops that fall on fresh on us. That's water. All right, that's derivation. There ain't no such thing as this librarian trying to tell me that the homeless people are being babysitted by libraries. The library are free access. The land is free access to anybody in humanity to walk it as far as their eye can see, to possess it, and whatever is in it to mine out. So then the causes that cause us to disagree is where we are and how far we can go, and that is our athleticism, our aptitude, what we are able to get out of life, and how high we are, or how hard we are able to go with it. So we got all these different ideas and conversations about what it is in America. Then we can't even elect a president without having to speak of God. Then I say speak of God. Well, what in God told you to build the sidewalks and the climate and to raise the process and the utility? Who in God is that? Then we see the high ideas and the idiomost thought about, common, say, business, the business, the one-to-one, the walk, the talk, the peer, the sneer, the leer, and all these jeers and other queers and other common vibes and other ors and moives that we have experientially come into contact with by way of living. We have to find out that humanity's gone far away from the earth because we're up in these high, tall structures, buildings, like the Twin Towers, which have been suffocated, the environment around, and now the New World Trade, Trump Towers, and the Leaning Towers, and all these other things that are conundrum rock, similar to mountain origin of the pillar. Then we talk about other things that we try to hail from. But the fact is, the trouble in the world is the property that life takes place on. It is not property at all. It's just substantive material earth. And people want to mine out of it. There agrees and there disagrees. And to some degree hot or cold. But the fact is also to entail why people want to have more. Why do we have so many books in the library? And the library doesn't even have space to contain no library, or the accumulated libraries don't have the space to obtain all the knowledge that has been reproduced, not even the knowledge that has been produced itself in essence, but just the reproductions of all the information throughout the civilization and cultures cannot be given to us. We can't access anything that we want just by going to the library shelf or just by going to the internet. We got to go through different references and different models in order for us to come into contact with the stories and the histories that give us what we vibe on today. And what we vibe on today, like the Joneses or not the Joneses, or to be or not to be, is really what the question is. Do you have an iPhone? Do you have a car? Do you have a truck, a plane, a boat? Do you have a job, not a job, a mansion? We find out. I'm going to have to give you some very instigating facts here that most things that are common in America are of Anglo-white European culture. That is fact because that's the heritage of America. Like the Bible was heritage to the slave master who was on the slave ship because they agree and to make things concrete in the mind of those that are suspect to be investigated by these normalcies. What's normal in the common life of the slave owner or the captain of the ship who drive the slaves who got the decree to come over the waters in Nova Scotia, go over and to get a new build and to find a new veal where you can produce more. This is what we're talking about in America. So when them slaves acted, the enactment of the Slave Act was that the Bible had to be a part of the pact. That was the name of Slave Act enactment. That's enactment. It ain't just the Constitution, it's the Slave Act, and that because there got to be a pivot. The Bible's not just a pivot, it's the humility, it's the origin of everything that's in America. And we still suffer because America cannot elect a president without talking about God. When America can elect a president without talking about God, then we can find out what humanity is over here in this country. If you're going over there in a foreign country, suffocating those people's laws because they find out that there are other ways that they can convene in their daily causes without having to adjust to all these minutiae laws and all these other petty ideas and all these proper nouns and pronouns that are multiplied plural over here in America that we can't even concentrate on enough to know them. We don't even know them enough because there are so many in multitude that we can't even know all these ideas over here. I mean, look at the books on this shelf. As an idea, express that idea of what it is to have too much in the world that it's not necessary to have. Have all these cars, all these railroads, and they're finding out the libraries are complaining about they're losing tax dollars, but there are libraries going up all over America. Now we just had this produced last month. The libraries were talking about the federal document that they were losing funding. But everywhere you go across America, they're building libraries. Then we talk about the economy's going bad, but everywhere in America we got construction sites with white workers of the multiplicity or the majority. Now that's the practice in America. To be in power is to gain power by being in control. You don't just get power. You gain power. That's like a rock going downhill. It starts in put that to the palm by some outboard force. It might be equivalent to some tremor or something of the sun, opposite of the sun, a higher degree of mass, or the same equal mass. When it goes downhill, the thing rationalizes portion per military second per second is very next second level. And it becomes something accumulated. So just like the rock going downhill, it picks up power because it gains speed, the velocity that it gains has a repetition as it becomes the conduit that it's traveling on. Now the rock can conduit to a lot of things, but to go be a conduit has the air to sides, so they can all repetition put their signature with their repetition culture on the document to all say we agree. We'll be back. This is pettyclass101gmail.com. Somebody pissed me off today. I was trying to do my taxes, and I got scammed again because the government says we get free tax forms because they want us to file our taxes. And all the entities that the government are proprietary to or subsidiary to by contract, giving them all them little write-offs by helping people file their taxes. As soon as you get to the end of the tax form, they're talking about they want to charge me $50. I'm like, man, my taxes ain't even $100. This is one job I'm filing for. I didn't even file for my other job. It's not even but $100 in this thing or something. You trying to charge $50. I don't want to be scammed like The Rock. You're scamming everything out of the earth. You're scamming oil, petroleum. You're scamming, even scamming hydrogen. You're even scamming oxygen. On Christmas, this is one of the biggest scams. You're scamming oxygen out of the atmosphere by cutting down evergreen trees. Another problem in America we don't concentrate on. That's humiliating to know that we can reduce smog and all these other things that cause us to lose our breath and to breathe free just by leaving stuff alone. Leave the earth alone. That's the problem. Stop digging shit up. Stop building these buildings all high. That's where you get the problem at, because access is right there. You're clogging up the access way of the earth is open access to everyone. That's what freedom is. That is open access to everyone. The earth is the only expression I can give you of what freedom is, because it's open to everybody and all ideas come out of it because we live on it. We sustain off of it. I'm going to have to continue this a little bit later because that's a lot of stuff that I'm going to have to go into detail about because people don't have time to think about it. But if you're giving me a little repetition, give me a little time, I can reduce all these little problems in America right down to the sum gravity of the matter. And that is, it's the earth. It's the matter. That's grave. That's the gray matter of the human dynamic. And that's the problem. It's not a black and white man thing. The only thing that we got to see going on between black men and white men is that they got different disagreements of how this work production should go on, because black men originated essentially through a model of slavery. So it's still after emancipation and indentured servitude and all the other contracts that came out of slavery or work empowerment investment of the slaves who had been freed. It's the Work Investment Act. Let's get the truth. The work investment empowerment zones were those zones that are situated close to where slaves had taken up quarter. Get with the trash or you'll be trash. This is Trash News, Minority Report, PlayWithClass101.com. We'll be right back. PlayWithClass101 Gmail. You can find us on Facebook too, and all the other kind of stuff. We're going to look a few clips on YouTube. We'll be right back.